Namaskar. NIOS welcomes you all in class senior secondary course Political Science lesson number 5. The name of the lesson is Preamble. This is the sign of preamble. We will learn the salient features of the Constitution of India. Let us now understand the objectives of this lesson. We would recognize the significance of the Constitution as the fundamental law of the land. Also, we would be able to describe the composition of the Constituent Assembly. This is CA, and also the role of the DC. DC is the drafting committee, and also the objectives of the Constituent Assembly. Also, we would be able to describe the preamble of the Constitution and their relevance. And the fourth objective is to identify the basic principles of preamble and their reflection in the constitutional provision. Also, we would be able to identify the main features of the Constitution of India. The seventh point is we would be able to distinguish between a written and an unwritten, as well as a rigid and a flexible constitution. Also, analyze the nature of the Indian Constitution and to establish the importance of fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and directive principles of state policy. In India, we have different states, so we have directive principles. And also to recognize the special features that distinguish the Indian Constitution from other constitutions of the world. The word constitution. What is the meaning of this word? A constitution is a set of fundamental principles or established precedents according to which a state or other organization is governed. The document, we all know that it is a paper. It is a document containing laws and rules which determine and describe the form of the government and the relationship between the citizens and the government. This is called a constitution. The Constitution is concerned with the two main aspects: the relation between the different levels of the government, like we have state government and national government, between the government and the citizens. And sometime also we have local government. The Constitution is the basic fundamental law of a state. It lays down the objectives of the state which it has to achieve. It also provides for the constitutional framework, that is, various structures and organs of the government at different levels. In addition, it describes the rights and duties of the citizens. The word organs of the government at different level is important. The word CA we already discussed. The Constitution of India was framed by the Constituent Assembly in the year 1946. The members of the Constituent Assembly were indirectly elected by the members of the existing provincial assemblies. In addition, there were members nominated by the rulers of the princely states. With independence of India, the Constituent Assembly became a fully sovereign body. The Constituent Assembly, following the partition of the country in the year 1947, consisted of 299 members as on 31st December 1947. Of these, 229 members were elected by the provincial assemblies, and the rest were nominated by the rulers of the princely states. Majority of the members in the Constituent Assembly belonged to the Congress Party. Working of the Constituent Assembly. The Dr. Rajendra Prasad, he was chairperson of the Constituent Assembly. He was elected as the President of the Assembly. The Constituent Assembly worked with the help of a large number of committees and subcommittees. Basically, the committees were of two types. Relating to the matters concerning with procedures and concerning important issues. In addition, there was an advisory committee, primarily advised from outside. The most important committee was the drafting committee. The drafting committee the task of the committee was to prepare the draft of the Constitution. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he was the chairman of the drafting committee. The drafting committee the Constituent Assembly met for 166 days spread over a period of 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. It is 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. It means it is not continuous every day, but at different gaps. In totality, it is 166 days spread over a period of 2 years and 11 months and 18 days. The procedure followed in the assembly was similar to which it is followed in legislature. Just now I had told you about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and also about Dr. Rajendra Prasad. the leaders of the Constituent Assembly were conscious that the need of the hour was general agreement on different issues and principles. As a result, deliberate efforts were made to achieve consensus. While arriving at any decision, the aspirations of the people were uppermost in the minds of the members of the assembly. The objective of the commission of this constitution, you can see in the picture of Dr. Rajendra Prasad. The Constitution of Independent India was framed in the background of about 200 years of colonial rule, a mass-based freedom struggle, the national movement, the partition of the country, and spread of communal violence. This is about 200 years before. Therefore, the framers of the Constitution were concerned about the aspirations of the people, integrity and unity of the country, and establishment of democratic society. The consensus came in the form of objective resolutions moved by Jawaharlal Nehru in the Constituent Assembly on December 17, 1946, which was almost unanimously adopted on January 22 in the year 1947. In the light of the objectives, the Assembly completed its task by November 26, 1949. The Constitution was enforced with effect from January 1950. From that day, India became republic. Exactly 20 years before the first Independence Day was celebrated on January 26 in the year 1930 as decided by the Lahore session of the Congress. On December 31st in the year 1929. Hence, January 26, 1950 was decided as the day of enforcement for the Constitution. Since then, in the year 1950, January 26, the preamble, this is the sign of preamble. We have a written preamble of India. You can see on the screen, we the people of India having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. In Constitution Preamble, in brief, we explain the objectives of our Constitution in two ways. Description of Indian states as sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Socialist, secular, these two words were added by the 42nd Amendment in the year 1976. The second point, which is on the screen, explains, it tells the provision to all the citizens of India about justice, social, economic, and political. In all the areas of life. Some more provisions, the second point which is on the screen is liberty of thoughts, expressions, beliefs, faith, and worship. The next point is equality of status and opportunity. Anyone, rich or poor, must be treated equally. And the next point explains the fraternity assuring dignity of the individual and unity and integrity of the nation. Let us now understand the word sovereign. Sovereignty is one of the foremost elements of any independent state. It means absolute independence. That means a government which is not controlled by any other power, internal or external. India is a sovereign country. It is free from external control. It can frame its policies. India is free to formulate its own foreign policies. now we will understand socialist. In our Constitution of India, the word socialist was not there in the preamble of the Constitution in its original form. In the year 1976, the Constitution incorporated socialist and secular. Just like in our India, in southern states and in northern states, we respect all the states equally. Let us now understand the word secularism. In the context of secularism in India, it is said that India is neither religious nor irreligious, nor anti-religious. So now what does this imply? It implies that in India there will be no state religion. The state will not support any particular religion out of public fund. This has two implications. The first one is every individual is free to believe in and practice any religion he or she belongs to. And state will not discriminate democratic republic. As you have noticed while reading the preamble to the Constitution, that the Constitution belongs to the people of India. In fact, the democratic principles of the country flow from this memorable last line of the preamble. Democracy is generally known as the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Effectively, it means that the government is elected by the people and it is responsible and accountable to the people. Let us now understand justice, liberty, and equality. we'll begin with justice. Justice promises to give people what they are entitled to in terms of basic rights to food, clothing, housing, participation in the decision making, and living with dignity as human beings. The preamble covers all these dimensions of justice, social, economic, and political. Besides, the granting of political justice in the form of universal adult franchise or the representative form of democracy. Liberty. The preamble also mentions about the liberty of thoughts and expressions. These freedoms have been guaranteed in the Constitution through the fundamental rights. Though freedom from want has not been guaranteed in the fundamental rights, certain directives to the state have been mentioned in the directive principles. Equality. The Constitution makers placed the ideals of equality in a place of pride in the preamble. All kinds of inequality based on the concept of rulers and ruled, or on the basis of caste and genders, were to be eliminated. All the citizens of India should be treated equally and extended equal protection of law without any discrimination based on caste, creed, birth, religion, or sex, etc. Fraternity, dignity, unity, and integrity. In the background of India's multilingual, multicultural, and multi-religious society, and keeping in view the partition of the country, the framers of the constitutions were very much concerned about the unity and integrity of our newly independent country. There was a need for harmonious coexistence among various religions linguistic, cultural, and economic groups. Inclusion of phrases like dignity of individuals, fraternity among people, and unity and integrity of the nation in the preamble highlights such a need. Let us now summarize all the points which we have discussed till now. A constitution symbolizes the importance of country, as we had discussed about the Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly prepared a draft of the Constitution by keeping the objectives, resolutions as the backdrop. Thank you.